Welcome to the Way We Win podcast. I'm your host, Robert Lawson Jr., and this isn't about success stories. It's about pressure, purpose, and the process it takes to grow through what you go through. We talk faith, fatherhood, legacy, manhood, marriage, and mindset because winning looks different for everyone. Let's get to it. This is the Way We Win. Welcome to the Way We Win podcast. It's your host, Robert Lawson Jr. Welcome to episode 2. This title is Winning Where You Are. I want to talk about a story where I was working for a company, crushing it, been there 3+ years, managing a team, and doing everything that I felt like I needed to do to win at this company. I not only was winning with my wife, I had a baby on the way, my fitness was on point, and legitimately, I felt really good about everything that was going on in my life. I felt so good to where I felt like I needed to win a little bit more financially for the service that I was providing this company. Long story short, a few months later, they felt like it wasn't a great opportunity for both of us, and I was let go. And I'm talking about after being in the just working field in general for 15+ years. This is the first time I ever got fired. I quit plenty of jobs. Like if something is not for me, I'm there, I'm at work, and I'm gonna bounce. But this situation, everything was going right. I was working with God spiritually, getting preparing for a sprint triathlon. Like everything was working great. And I got fired. And I'm like, wow, it hit me. But because I was preparing my fitness, my mental, I'm talking reading books, I'm talking listening to the motivational stuff. I was doing everything I felt that was right. So honestly, I was prepared for what was to come that I didn't even know. So I got fired. This was like October. I just had a new baby in May. So my baby is 4 months old. I just got fired at a job and I'm like, wow, what do I do, God? But I've been in the industry for 8 years at this point and never really had the idea of starting my own company in that industry. I just felt like it was a lot of politics in the industry. Um, but you know what? God blessed me with opportunity, partnered with somebody in New York, and they were a minority silent owner. And I started my own company. I'm like, boom, seed money. So I got about 50 grand. I'm like, all right, boom, this is what we're going to do. Let's get the marketing going. Let's get the CRM. I did this before and it was not easy. You're talking about setting up the paperwork for the business, opening up the business accounts, getting the licensing. Then you're talking about, hey, if you don't scale, then you're going to be doing all the work and I cannot do all the work. So I found a marketing guy. I had a buddy who wanted to come work with me, but I wanted to do things right. So I was putting him on W-2 even before the company was making money. Boom, the plan looked great. All right, as long as I set up with these lenders, we going to start doing this business financing and I'm going to make money sooner than later. Well, it the sooner didn't happen. It was more like the later. So I'm showing up. I get this office space because I don't want to work out the house. I get this office space. I'm paying for that. So right now I'm probably out $15 to $20,000. Right, the first 45 days because of the location. You gotta buy data. You set up with lenders. Like it was a lot through this process from opening up the corporations, putting somebody on W-2 and even if you paying somebody 15 an hour because of the state and the Fed and everybody want their money, that 15 an hour come out of your pocket like 18 an hour, right? So in this situation, I'm being faithful to the process, but I'm not seeing the results. I'm going in, I'm paying a marketing guy, and he's saying he's doing what he's doing, and he's emailing, and he's supposedly this great guy that I done paid $8,000 to, I think 8 to 10,000. Boom, I try 1 month and I'm not seeing the results that I actually wanted to. Hey, give me a second. I'm referring them over to other people. Boom, I pay them some more money. And at this point, I'm like, I gotta learn this myself. I wanted to fast track the process, But the process is the process. And I'm like, look, I can't keep running through this money because I'm not making money. I'm paying money to a marketing guy. He's getting paid whether he delivers or not. The employee getting paid whether they deliver or not. And I probably funded a few deals. Didn't break even the first month. I definitely was in the red. Um, but I said, you know what? I have to figure this out. And if he can't do it this way, I know it can be done. So I had to spend some money educating myself. I went to take some email marketing courses on Udemy. I was buying data from different sources. I found some outbound dialing software so my employee can kind of make more phone calls than just picking up and pressing button. I mean, you got a software, computers, like there's a lot of things that go into the vision. So when you're in this place where you have this vision of where you want to be, but you're stuck in the middle. Every everybody wants to win when the spotlight is on them, but nobody wants to win when nobody's watching, right? Like, so I don't know about you. Have you ever been stuck in this middle place between the vision and the work, right? Have you been stuck between the promise and the promotion, right? Because the promise is you go to school for 4 years, you get this degree, you get a good job. That's the promise, right? But the promotion is the 4 years of work that you have to do with passing the test, listening to the teacher, failing that, like that middle part, that grind. I don't know about you, but if anybody is stuck between that part, right? The vision. Hey, when I get my business started, I'm about to be balling. I'm about to be a CEO. I'm about to be a BOSS boss, right? Everybody wants to be the CEO, but who wants to start at the ground level? Who wants to put that foundational work when nobody's looking? The season that I was speaking about is me starting up my company, right? At this point, my family is depending on me. I'm the sole owner, breadwinner. My wife has been blessed to be a home engineer, so she didn't have to go to a 9 to 5. Like it's relying on me. I made multiple six figures in the finance industry, and for the most part God has continued to bless our life for us to be okay with one income. So getting fired, boom, that was, I got caught off guard, but at the same time the value system for what I know had to be implemented. And starting from scratch, I didn't have time to post my progress about, hey, here's me starting up this company, here's me feeling like it was hard going to this office, putting in this work and not seeing a result. Going out, think about you going out to hunt and your wife and your family counting on you to go kill something and bring it back so everybody can eat. And you come home from that hunt and you have nothing. It's not even something you have to say, because if you came back with some prey, if you came back with a cow or whatever kind of thing you have to hunt, you're gonna bring food and you're gonna throw it on the table. So it's not something she has to ask. When I had it, hey, boom, guess what? Da, 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 you excited? Hey, we funded a deal. We made this much. Blah blah blah. That's exciting. But when it's not happening, when you're going to work each and every day, not knowing the outcome, that part sucks. And then what happens is you're questioning your decisions, right? You want to expedite stuff, so I hired a marketing guy and I hire a friend of mine to come work for me, and he barely working because he getting paid regardless of his output. But me working behind the desk, I'm having to learn a new skill. I'm having to sharpen up my tools. I'm having to be the marketing guy, be the guy making the phone calls, outbound, dialing. Like I had to do every single role, and I had to take a step back and learn it all and do it all so I can then teach and then scale. But guess what? I had to do this privately. There were some days I would go to the office, man, just to get away from the house because I I wanted to cry. I wanted to go underneath the desk and just, God, what did I do? Was this for me? This is what you prepared me for? And I had to wake up and I had to put in the work and I had to try the marketing campaigns, right? And try something else. And that failed. All right, then pivot, try something else. And that didn't work out the way out. And try something else. And you go home and you want to be excited about the potential. I want to get excited about the vision. I want to get excited about the promotion, right? The promise. The promise is, hey, babe, we gonna make this money when this company get to this point. So anybody that's out there grinding right now, that's going to school, right? And you excited about that promise of going to school and then getting this job, but you right now you ain't got the job. And right now you going to school and you broke and you not making the money that you want to make and you still just trying to pass that test or you still trying to pay your cell phone bill or pay your rent. Like that part sucks. But don't stop putting in the work. So I kept learning. I kept grinding. I kept showing up. I would say keep showing up. Don't worry about tomorrow because today has enough work on its own. So I kept showing up to the office. I kept talking to people. I kept trying to pitch deals, working with different lenders. I kept learning about the marketing, trying it myself. I had to bootstrap and I'm like, hey, look, I can't keep paying you this money for this marketing. Look, it's gonna work or it's not gonna work out, but I gotta bet on me. I know you good, you got paid, this and that. I gotta bet on me. So I had to try myself. And eventually it did pay off. So I kept putting in the work and eventually it paid off. And throughout that whole process, what we do in private is all not always noticed publicly, right? Like there's this ancient book that talks about this guy named David. And before he was a king, he was a shepherd. So this dude out here, he had a task of protecting sheep, take them to green pastures, protecting them. He gotta get them out of. He gotta get these sheep. He gotta get these sheep out of bushes and these are dumb sheep, right? They probably getting bit by snakes, wolves, like all kind of stuff has happened to these sheep. But he has a job to do and protect these sheep every single day. And it talks about in his book, he defeated a lion and he defeated a bear privately. He was never known publicly for defeating the lion or the bear, but God knew that he did that privately. So then there came an opportunity where it was this big dude, Philistine named Goliath. And everybody, all these war heroes was scared of Goliath, right? Faithful old David, who never put a whole a war suit on in his life, got somebody war suit, felt uncomfortable, took it off, and killed this giant with a rock. Now, is he just that beast mode to where he just going through slaying giants, or was he consistent privately before he got acknowledged publicly? He was protecting sheep and he was doing a job that may not have been acknowledged as one of the best jobs out there. But because he was faithful and protected the sheep from a lion and a bear, God prepared him. So for me, when I was faithful working these jobs and doing all this stuff and learning and becoming valuable by helping and contributing and soaking in all this knowledge, I was then able to do that privately for my own company. Now, when you do that privately, nobody knows the little stuff you go through. Nobody knew that he had to protect the sheep from a lion. Man, he could have let that lion come through and devour his sheep, but guess what? That lion would have kept coming back. And he could have let that bear come through and devour the sheep, and that bear would have kept coming back. The bear would have probably got full, left, and came back, right? So he had to do something about it, and he killed the lion and he killed the bear. So in this situation, when I was starting my own company and I had to pay the marketing dude that didn't even help my business, that was a lion. That was a lion trying to devour the cash flow that I have from my company. And I didn't know the right questions to ask and how to check the work and to know what he was doing was valid or not. So I just paid him. But then guess what? He came back for more of my sheep. And I'm like, whoa, bro, you devouring all my cash flow, bro. Like, where's the return? Oh, he came back. Like, hey, hold on. I gotta tackle this, homie. Bam. I have to get rid of that. I had to get rid of that, and I had to learn how to market myself. So when I did replace somebody, and actually I kind of like collabed after that point and kind of overseeing some work and cut the cost down and everything else because I learned the game, right? Uh, so in that situation, I had to protect protect what God has given me, right? So in this situation, I had to protect my wife. I had to protect the cash flow. I had to protect the value system that somebody is going to come through and try to devour what you have, throw you off your rocker. If you going to school and you got a test tomorrow, you should not be going out to the club, right? You got no time for that. If that's what you got to do, then do that. Study, right? Because if your vision or your promise is to knock something out in 3 or 4 years and you fail a semester, that can throw off the promise, right? If your goal is to start a business, or your goal is to get better at what you're doing, then focus on that, right? So I would say in this situation, what's done in private prepares you for what is to come. Whether or not you going to school and you spending the 3 4 years 2 years whatever it is to get to a certain point, that's preparing you for that job so they can know that you're coachable, that you have the ability to learn, you have the ability to learn something and apply it, right? But if you're going through school and you just using chat gpt and you're going to get through it and you go get that job interview, can you have a comfortable and confident conversation about what you're actually working on, right? So when I slayed that bear and that lion, or when David slayed the bear and the lion, he had no problem going through Goliath because he like, hey man, look, I didn't killed wild animals at 600 pounds, 800 pounds, 1,000 pounds. Y'all tripping on this, right? So when you went to school and you knocked out that class and you got an A in the hardest class out there, right? Or you started your business and you didn't conquer the obstacles, the situations, and you've made it through and you saw some ROI. Now you can conquer the next challenge. Like, man, if I didn't did this, I can do this too, right? So those private battles will build up your confidence, will show you privately who you are before you're publicly acknowledged. Okay? So God does a lot of stuff privately where he's working on us. He's allowing us to build our character. He's allowing us to take these tests privately because he wants us to succeed publicly. But if you can't pass those tests privately when nobody's watching, that's where privately is where the character is being built, right? You doing all these little side courses and these little things privately, waking up when nobody's watching. When nobody is watching, that's where it's being built. You don't need more exposure. You need more endurance. And I mean, Nipsey Hussle said it best. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? And when you talk about a marathon, you need to build your wind up. You need to build your endurance. And that ancient book that I so love talks about a story where it was Noah. And the promise was, hey, there's a flood coming. Nobody else knew about. There's a flood coming. So every day he'd wake up for years, right? This wasn't an overnight project. For years, he was building an ark. And people thought he was crazy. People was like, man, what are you doing? It ain't rain, this and that. And he looked silly. He looked foolish. But he endured. He built an ark because God had put in his heart to prepare for a situation, right? So I would say if you have a vision, if you have a promise from God, if you have something in your heart, in your soul that you know that you're supposed to do, it don't matter what everybody else sees publicly. Privately put in the work. Work on your consistency. Work on your endurance. Because eventually that ark was built. And eventually that flood came. And guess what? God followed through on that promise. on that promotion, on that situation where he was saved and his whole family was saved because he was consistent and he endured. So, how many people are depending on you to follow through on your consistency, on your promise, on your endurance? Your kids, your family members, right? Every day you waking up privately, having to go to work, having to hustle, having to do multiple jobs. I remember this one time, uh, I had an e-commerce business. This was a while ago. I had an e-commerce business. I left the finance industry, did a missions trip, and my wife did a mission. I went to the Philippines. My wife went to Uganda. Like, we had some money, we did okay, and then started e-commerce business. It was a great little journey, but the money I made in e-commerce, I could have technically made more in my industry. Um, so I went back into the industry after I kind of like went bust on my e-commerce business. Right? You got to really watch your margins in an e-commerce, and gross revenue is definitely different than net. And when you talk about shipping, you talk about importing stuff. I mean, they talk about tariffs now. Think about if you had some stuff stuck at the ports right before Black Friday and right before Christmas, and people want to get refunds, right? So there's some things to the e-commerce game that I had to learn along the way. And honestly, it just wasn't something that I saw myself doing full time. So I got back into the finance industry. Me and my wife, we had two cars. Uh, we had a Honda and we had a Ford Flex. And no, you know what? Yeah, at the time, yeah, we had a Honda and we had a Nissan Murano, right? And the Honda blown head gasket, something ended up happening to it. So we were down to one car. And at this point, we had two kids, right? So we had two kids. I had to go to work. I'm at work 8, 9 hours. So for me, I don't want to leave my wife without the car. So I didn't tell nobody. I wake up 4:30, 5 o'clock, hop on the bus, take the bus to work, and I'm near at this company where I'm telling you, like, 5 figures a month, but I had to go through the motion because I just started. So literally, I'm 3 weeks into this company, haven't got a commission check yet. Car breaks down. I don't have the money to actually pay for it yet. So I'm catching a bus and I'm having to do what I have to do privately, and I'm putting in the work. I'm going to work. I'm working the best that I actually can. And I was excited to catch the bus. I mean, I haven't caught the bus since I was a kid, and and I like regular people. I mean, I definitely think it builds character. And a lot of people, they don't want to go through whatever it takes. Like, I do it if I don't have to do this. I do I clean up, but I ain't touching the toilet, right? Like, who says that? Maybe cleaning that toilet is going to build that character that you need to get through the next challenge or the next situation, right? So for me, hopping on a bus, I had no problem. I'm not about to leave my wife and my kids carless. Even if I catch the bus. Maybe come pick me up when I get off, right? But why am I going to wake up my wife and my kids at 5 o'clock in the morning to come drop me off at work only to go back home? So I had no problem hopping on the bus. But what that built for me is, are you willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done? That's whatever it takes. All right, God. And I'm grateful. Like, how do you win in the process where you don't even have the process, the promise? Right? Like, I knew that in this industry, I can make a lot of money. I can make 10, 20 plus $1,000 a month. I could. That was the promise. Like, hey, finance, if I fund a couple of deals, boom, 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 babe, this is what we can make. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna make it happen. But what happens when you're waking up every day and you're making the phone calls and it doesn't happen yet? And I was working at this job, and legitimately it was three of us that got hired in this class. Three of us got hired. They heard I had previous experience, so I'm thinking I'm gonna come in and crush it. And it was more difficult. The way that they had their leads come in, the way that they were marketing, it took me some adjustments. And what I did is, when I came to this company, I said, you know what? Who's crushing it? Let me look at the board. Let me look at the top performers. I went to the top performers. I saw them. One was a little cocky. I tried to like learn from him, and no, he had his own office and hey, can I hear you? Can I listen to you? And he wasn't really trying to show too much love. So I kind of like listen to him when I can. And, and then it was another lady that I asked, hey, look, I don't need anything. If you can just let me know when you get on a phone call, raise your hand. I'll look, I'll come in your office, I'll be quiet, and I'll just listen. And then you get off the call, I'll leave. And I would even ask her, hey, do you need lunch today? This and that. I didn't even have that much money. I'm just like, I'll buy her lunch. I'll figure out something to figure out what they're doing to be successful so I can mimic that. Maybe I'm doing something a little off. A couple of times listen to that. They're not doing too much different. Probably had a pipeline or something of that sort. But one of the people that got hired with me in that class, he got fired. He got fired. I guess he wasn't performing. They thought he was going to fund more deals and make more money. And I heard them kind of whispering about me and if I was going to make it. And the other girl they got hired with us, she was more newer. So they gave her a little bit more grace. But for me, they was expecting me to blow out the water. And but I was putting in the work. I'm like, God, like I'm putting in the work. I don't see the results. I'm doing what I need to do. Long story short, like a week later, I end up funding the biggest deal in the company history. It was like 52,000 plus in commission to where the owner went to the store, got me a bottle of Ace of Spades, and I still have that Ace of Spades to this day. So this was had to be at least 8 years ago. But I look at that bottle to remind myself that if you would have gave up, you would have got fired. If you didn't keep working hard, like they almost counted you out. You went from being counted out to congratulated. I went from being almost counted out to congratulated. And even if I didn't fund that deal and I got fired, I know I would have left that place knowing that I tried everything that I could. And if it wasn't enough, so be it. It will probably be enough somewhere else. So I want to say, I don't know what and who might be going through giving everything they have right now. And you might have that same success story. I gave everything I had and it worked out. Great. This was the job that I gave everything I had and it worked out where now they congratulate me. But this is also the same job 4 years later, fast forward, while I was giving everything I had and they counted me out and they fired me. So did my value change? Did I become less valuable? Actually, I knew more leaving that place than I did going in, right? So it's almost like God needed to transport or transplant me into a better situation where I needed to grow. So you may be like that plant who's outgrowing that pot, that soil, the little, you got these plants, the planters that are only so big, they're quart. They're really small. And then the tree only grows as big as this. I heard an oak tree, if you put it inside a little pot, it's only going to grow that big. But if you move it to the ground and you move it to some better soil, it can become 100+ feet tall, right? So maybe you might be in a situation where God is trying to transplant you. He's trying to put you in a different situation. He said, you've grown enough here and I need to move you so you can grow more. So you can see this other opportunity, so you can spread out your roots, you can spread out your leaves. Like this isn't this environment was for the old you and it's not for the new you. So right now I would say, how are you looking at your situation when you have this promise? You have this vision of where you want to be, but right now you're not there and you're in the middle. Are you speaking life? Are you saying great things? Are you saying, I'm on my way to X? This situation isn't going to last long. I'm not stuck. I'm being prepared, right? Can you be like Noah where you're building but you don't see any rain? Can you be like David where you're feeding the sheep every day but knowing you've been anointed for more? David was feeding sheep and he became king, right? There's another story about Joseph. Joseph was a kid who was talking to his brothers. Hey, man, I had this dream. I had this dream that Y'all was going to be bowing down to me. He was sold into slavery and he stayed faithful. He was working for somebody and the wife lied on him and he got put in jail and he stayed faithful to God. He became the right hand to Pharaoh. So in this situation, if you've been given a vision that is not here yet, can you stay faithful? Say, hey, I'm not stuck. I'm being prepared. What are you saying in this situation? I'm learning right now. This is what I get to do. Joseph was in jail and he was talking to a chef, a bread maker, and a wine, a cupbearer, guy who poured the king's wine, and another guy who was the king's baker. And he still had a good attitude, telling them their dreams and interpreting their dreams. Can you be faithful when it doesn't look like your situation is worthy of being praised? David was faithful as a shepherd. Joseph was faithful in jail. Noah was faithful building an ark when there wasn't any rain. Can God trust you with this vision and being faithful until it actually plans out? So I would say speak life. This is what we get to do. I'm being strengthened. I'm learning. I'm being conditioned. God is preparing me. There's a lot of things. But I would say right now, win where you are. Right now, in the middle of this place between your promise and the promotion. Right? That vision and the work that you have to do to get there. Win right now. Bet David was winning out there with his sheep. Noah was winning every day building his ark. Joseph was winning in jail. Winning throughout the process. His brother sold him to slavery. Then he got to go work for some dude. Then he was in jail. Then he got out of jail, right? Work through it all. Be grateful through it all. Learn to build that character through it all, right? So wherever you are, share this with somebody who might be stuck in a situation where they don't think that the vision is going to come to fruition. And it may. And guess what? It's going to happen. There's probably going to be another level, right? But I eventually, if I'm going back to the situation when I was catching the bus, I caught the bus for a few weeks. Boom. Funded that big deal. Guess what? Made some money. Brought the wife a new car. Got rid of the Honda. I kept the Murano. She got a Ford Flex. And we was winning. And I was driving and I was cool. And I'm grateful and I'm winning. And we've went through multiple cars since then and had a lot of financial favors since then. But there's been a lot of lessons as well. So what is God grooming you? Are we learning the lessons? Are we being thankful for the stuff that we're going through that is grooming us, that is preparing us, that is allowing us to get these lessons, right? Can you endure? Can you show up every single day with a good attitude, with a smile, and get it done? So send this to somebody who's stuck in the middle. Comment, like, share. But this is what we get to do, and this is the way we win. All right, God bless. This is the way we win. Built under pressure, built with purpose. If this bless you, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Let's keep winning.